You're scrolling through TikTok at 2 a.m., watching some high school influencer show off their passive income while you're eating ramen for the third night this week because payday isn't until Friday. They're talking about making thousands in dividends like it's as easy as ordering DoorDash. Meanwhile, you're wondering if you can even afford the delivery fee. Here's what most financial gurus won't tell you. You don't need a trust fund or a six-figure salary to start building serious dividend income. What if I told you there's a realistic path to earning $4,000 a month in dividends, even if you're currently living paycheck to paycheck? I'm not talking about some get-rich-quick scheme or crypto nonsense. This is about understanding how dividend investing actually works and using strategies that most people completely overlook. The average person thinks you need $100,000 sitting around to make any real money from dividends. That's not just wrong, it's keeping you broke. If you're interested in learning how to turn small amounts of money into consistent monthly income, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this information helps you out. Let's start with the basics because most people get this completely wrong. When you hear dividends, you probably think of boring old companies like Coca-Cola paying you pennies every quarter. That's like thinking the internet is just email. You're missing about 90% of the opportunity. Here's the thing about dividends. They're not just stock payouts. A dividend is any payment you receive for owning an asset. Think of it like rent, but instead of owning a house, you own pieces of businesses, real estate trusts, or other income-producing investments. The traditional approach goes something like this. Buy shares of Johnson & Johnson, collect your 50 cents per share every quarter, and wait 40 years to have enough shares to matter. At that rate, you'd need to own about 3,200 shares just to make $4,000 a year, not even per month. That's roughly $500,000 invested. If you're making $40,000 a year, good luck with that timeline. But here's where things get interesting. The dividend world has exploded beyond traditional stocks. We're talking about real estate investment trusts that pay monthly instead of quarterly, business development companies with yields that would make your savings account weep, closed-end funds trading at discounts that basically give you free money. The key insight that changes everything is this. You don't need the highest quality companies if you're focused on income generation. You need the highest yielding opportunities that won't completely implode. It's like choosing between a luxury apartment that costs $3,000 a month or 3 decent apartments that each bring in $1,200. The math is simple, but most people get caught up in brand names. Research shows that dividend-focused investors often outperform growth investors over long periods, not because their stocks go up more, but because they're getting paid while they wait. That psychological difference is huge when you're starting with limited funds. Now let's talk about where the real opportunities hide. Most people are shopping for dividends at Target when they should be checking out the warehouse stores. You want yield, volume, and reliability, not necessarily the prettiest packaging. Real estate investment trusts, or REITs, are your first stop. These companies own income-producing real estate and are required by law to pay out 90% of their profits as dividends. But here's what's crazy. Many REITs pay monthly instead of quarterly. That means instead of waiting 3 months between payments, you're getting checks every 30 days. Some REITs are yielding 8%, 10%, even 12% annually. Compare that to the S&P 500's average dividend yield of around 1.5%. You could put $50,000 into a diversified REIT portfolio yielding 9% and generate $4,500 a year in dividends. That's already getting close to our monthly target, and we haven't even talked about the advanced strategies. Business development companies, or BDCs, are another goldmine most people ignore. These companies lend money to smaller businesses and pass the interest payments along to shareholders. Many BDCs yield between 10% and 15%. The catch is they're riskier than traditional stocks, but if you're young and have time to recover from mistakes, the income potential is massive. Closed-end funds are where things get really interesting. These funds often trade below the value of their holdings, which means you're buying a dollar's worth of assets for 90 cents. When that fund pays a 7% dividend, you're actually earning closer to 8% because you bought in at a discount. Here's a strategy that will blow your mind. Instead of trying to pick individual stocks, focus on dividend-focused ETFs and mutual funds that do the heavy lifting for you. You get instant diversification, professional management, and yields that crush anything your bank is offering. The monthly dividend ETFs are game changers for people on tight budgets. Instead of waiting 3 months between payments, you're getting income every month that you can reinvest immediately. That compounding effect adds up faster than you think. But here's the part most financial advisors won't tell you. You don't need to put all your money in the safest, lowest yielding options. If you're making $35,000 a year and living with roommates, you can afford to take more risk for higher yields. The worst case scenario is you lose some money you didn't have much of anyway. The best case scenario is you accelerate your path to financial independence by years. Think about it this way. Would you rather have a guaranteed 2% return that keeps you broke forever, or a potentially volatile 10% return that could change your life in 5 years instead of 50? Here's where we get into the real tactics that actually work when you're starting from zero. Most investment advice assumes you have thousands of dollars sitting around waiting to be invested. That's about as helpful as a chocolate teapot when you're trying to figure out how to invest your leftover grocery money. The first strategy is what I call the latte factor on steroids. You know that old advice about skipping your daily coffee to save money? That's cute, but we're going bigger. Look at your subscriptions like your Marie Kondo decluttering your finances. Netflix, Spotify, that gym membership you haven't used since your New Year's resolution died in February. Cancel everything that doesn't spark joy or income. But here's the twist. Instead of just cutting expenses, redirect that money immediately into a dividend-focused investment account. Set up automatic transfers so the money disappears before you can spend it on something else. If you can find $100 a month from subscription cuts and small lifestyle changes, that's $200 a year going straight into dividend-paying assets. The second strategy is the side hustle dividend combo. This isn't about driving for Uber until your car falls apart. Think smarter, not harder. Sell stuff you don't need on Facebook Marketplace, do freelance work in your spare time, or monetize a skill you already have. The key is treating this extra income like it doesn't exist for spending purposes. Every dollar from side hustles goes directly into your dividend portfolio. No exceptions, no, I'll just buy one thing first. This creates a psychological separation between your survival money and your wealth-building money. Your day job covers your living expenses. Your side hustle feeds your investment account. Here's a strategy that sounds crazy but works incredibly well. Start with fractional shares of high-yield dividend stocks and ETFs. You don't need $200 to buy one share of a REIT anymore. You can start with $10 and own a piece of that same investment. Most brokerages now offer fractional shares with zero commissions. This means you can diversify across multiple dividend-paying investments, even with tiny amounts of money. Buy $25 worth of a monthly dividend REIT, $25 of a high-yield ETF, and $25 of a dividend-focused mutual fund. Boom! You're diversified across hundreds of companies with $75. The compound effect of monthly dividends is where the magic happens. Instead of waiting 3 months to reinvest your dividends, you're reinvesting every month. That extra reinvestment frequency can add years to your wealth-building timeline. It's like the difference between saving money in a jar versus a high-yield savings account, except the difference is even more dramatic. But here's the strategy that separates the winners from the dreamers. Track your dividend income like it's a video game score. Create a simple spreadsheet or use an app that shows your monthly dividend payments growing over time. When you see that first $5 dividend payment, then $10, then $25, it becomes addictive in the best possible way. Most people give up on investing because they can't see progress fast enough. Dividend investing gives you monthly feedback that your strategy is working. That psychological boost keeps you motivated to find more money to invest instead of getting discouraged and quitting. The final strategy is what I call dividend stacking. Once you're receiving regular dividend payments, resist the urge to spend them. Instead, use those dividends to buy more dividend-paying investments. This creates a snowball effect where your investments start buying more investments without you adding any new money. Now we're getting into territory that most financial advisors won't touch because it's not glamorous enough for their wealthy clients. But if you're starting from the bottom, you need to use every advantage available, including programs designed to help people in your exact situation. The Earned Income Tax Credit is basically free money that millions of people either don't claim or spend immediately. If you qualify for EITC, that refund can be anywhere from $500 to $6,000, depending on your income and family situation. Instead of treating it like a windfall to blow on stuff you don't need, dump the entire amount into dividend-paying investments. Think about it this way. A $3,000 tax refund invested in assets yielding 8% annually generates $240 in dividends every year. That's $20 a month in passive income from money you were going to waste anyway. Do that for a few years and you're building serious momentum. The child tax credit and other family-related credits work the same way. These aren't loans you have to pay back. They're government subsidies for being in a lower income bracket. Use them strategically instead of letting lifestyle inflation eat them up. Here's something most people don't know. Many states offer matched savings programs for low-income individuals. These individual development accounts will match your savings dollar for dollar up to certain limits. You put in $1,000, they add another $1,000. That's an instant 100% return before you even start investing. The catch is these programs usually restrict what you can use the money for, but many allow investment in education or starting a business. If you can structure your dividend investing as part of a broader financial education plan, you might qualify for matching funds. Community colleges often offer financial literacy courses that come with small grants or scholarships. Take the course, learn about investing, and use any financial aid to jumpstart your dividend portfolio. You're getting paid to learn how to build wealth. That's a better deal than most people with master's degrees are getting. Food assistance programs free up money in your budget that can be redirected to investing. I'm not saying abuse the system, but if you qualify for SNAP benefits, use them. That's money you don't have to spend on groceries, which means more money available for building your financial future. The psychological barrier here is huge. People feel guilty about using government assistance to invest instead of just surviving. But here's the thing. The best way to get off government assistance permanently is to build assets that generate income. You're not gaming the system. You're using it exactly as intended to improve your long-term financial situation. Housing assistance works the same way. If you can get help with rent through Section 8 or other programs, that's hundreds of dollars a month you can redirect toward dividend investing. A $400 monthly rent reduction invested at 9% annually adds up to over $65,000 after 10 years. The key is thinking strategically about every dollar instead of just trying to survive month to month. Here's where most people mess up their dividend strategy. They get their first $50 dividend payment and immediately think free money and blow it on something stupid. That's like planting a seed, watching it sprout, then digging it up to see how it's doing. You just killed your future wealth. The fastest way to reach $4,000 monthly in dividends is through dividend reinvestment, but not the boring way your grandfather did it. We're talking about strategic reinvestment that accelerates your timeline from decades to years. Most brokerages offer automatic dividend reinvestment plans or DRIPs, where your dividends automatically buy more shares of the same stock. That's fine for set-it-and-forget-it investing, but it's not optimized for speed. You want manual control over where those dividends go so you can chase the highest yields and best opportunities. Here's the strategy that changes everything. Instead of reinvesting dividends back into the same investments, use them to buy into higher-yielding opportunities. If your REIT pays you $100 in dividends, don't automatically buy more of that same REIT. Look for a different dividend investment with a higher yield or better growth prospects. This creates what I call yield arbitrage. You're constantly moving your money toward better opportunities instead of just buying more of what you already own. Over time, this strategy can increase your effective yield from 8% to 12% or higher just by being smart about reinvestment. The monthly dividend strategy is crucial here. When you're receiving dividend payments every month instead of every quarter, you have more opportunities to reinvest at optimal times. Market dips happen monthly, not just quarterly. You want your dividend money hitting your account when stocks are on sale. But here's the advanced move that separates serious investors from casual ones. Use your dividend payments to dollar cost average into new positions. Instead of trying to time the market with lump sum investments, let your dividends build positions gradually over time. This reduces your risk while maintaining aggressive growth. The compound effect becomes ridiculous when you're reinvesting monthly dividends. Let's say you start with $5,000 invested at 10% annual yield. That's $500 in dividends the first year. But if you reinvest those dividends monthly instead of annually, you're earning dividends on your dividends 12 times a year instead of once. After 5 years of consistent reinvestment, that $5,000 could be generating over $800 annually in dividends. After 10 years, you're looking at $1,300 or more. The difference between monthly and annual reinvestment could be thousands of dollars in your pocket. Here's where it gets really interesting. Once your dividend income reaches about $200 per month, you can start using those payments to diversify into different asset classes. Maybe you started with REITs, but now you can add BDCs, utility stocks, or international dividend funds. This diversification protects you while maintaining high yields. The psychological game is huge here. Track your reinvestment like you're leveling up in a video game. Every month, calculate how much your dividend income increased from reinvestment. When you see that your investments are buying more investments without you adding new money, it becomes addictive in the best way possible. Let me tell you about Sarah, a 28-year-old teacher making $42,000 a year who went from $0 to $500 monthly in dividend income in 3 years. She didn't inherit money or win the lottery. She just followed a system and stuck with it when everyone around her was buying new cars and taking expensive vacations. Sarah started by cutting her monthly expenses by $150. She canceled subscriptions, cooked at home more often, and found a cheaper phone plan. Nothing dramatic, just basic adulting that most people skip. That $150 went automatically into a dividend-focused portfolio every month. She focused on monthly dividend REITs and high-yield ETFs, starting with fractional shares when she couldn't afford full shares. Her first dividend payment was $347. Most people would laugh at that amount, but Sarah reinvested it immediately. 6 months later, she was earning $15 monthly. A year in, she hit $50 monthly. The turning point came when Sarah started a side hustle tutoring kids online. Instead of using that money for lifestyle upgrades, every dollar went into dividend investments. By year 2, she was investing $300 monthly between her expense cuts and side income. Her dividend payments were covering her grocery budget. Year 3 is when the compound effect really kicked in. Her dividend income was reinvesting itself faster than she could add new money. She hit $500 monthly in dividends, which covered her car payment and insurance. Suddenly, her teacher salary felt a lot more comfortable. Here's exactly how to start this process today. First, open a brokerage account that offers fractional shares and zero commission trades. Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and E-Trade all work fine. Don't get paralyzed by choosing the perfect broker. They're all basically the same for dividend investing. Second, start with $50 if that's all you have. Buy fractional shares of a monthly dividend ETF like SPHD or a REIT like Realty Income. The specific choice matters less than starting. You can always adjust your strategy as you learn more. Third, set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your brokerage account. Even if it's just $25 per week, automate it so you don't have to think about it. The hardest part of investing is the emotional decision to move money from spending to saving. Automation removes that friction. Fourth, reinvest every dividend payment manually for the first year. This forces you to pay attention to what's working and what isn't. You'll learn about different types of dividend investments by actually buying them instead of just reading about them. The key is starting small and being consistent rather than waiting until you have enough money to invest properly. There is no enough. There's only starting and not starting. The people earning serious dividend income started with small amounts and built their portfolios over time. Most people spend more time researching what TV to buy than what investments to make. Don't be that person. Pick a few solid dividend-paying investments, start buying them regularly, and adjust as you go. Perfect is the enemy of done, and done is the enemy of broke. Let's talk about what can go wrong, because pretending dividend investing is risk-free is how people lose money and give up on building wealth entirely. The biggest risk isn't market crashes or company bankruptcies. It's you getting scared and selling everything at the worst possible time. High-yield investments come with higher risk. That 12% yield from a BDC isn't guaranteed, and the company could cut or eliminate dividends if their business struggles. This is why diversification isn't just smart, it's essential. Never put more than 10% of your portfolio in any single investment, no matter how attractive the yield looks. Interest rate risk is huge for dividend investors. When interest rates rise, dividend-paying stocks often fall because bonds become more attractive alternatives. This happened in 2022 when REITs got hammered as rates increased. The dividend payments kept coming, but the stock prices dropped significantly. The solution isn't avoiding dividend investing. It's understanding that stock prices will fluctuate while dividend payments remain relatively stable. If you're focused on income rather than stock price appreciation, temporary price drops are just opportunities to buy more shares at lower prices. Inflation risk is sneaky but dangerous. A $4,000 monthly dividend income sounds great today, but if inflation averages 3% annually, that same $4,000 will only buy about $3,000 worth of today's goods in 10 years. This is why you need dividend growth, not just high current yields. Look for companies and funds with histories of increasing their dividends over time. Dividend growth rates of 5 through 7% annually can help your income keep pace with or exceed inflation. It's better to start with a 6% yield that grows 5% annually than a 10% yield that stays flat forever. The biggest mistake new dividend investors make is chasing the highest yields without understanding why those yields are so high. Sometimes high yields are red flags indicating financial distress. A 15% yield might mean the market expects a dividend cut, not that you found a great deal. Do basic research before investing in anything. Check the company's dividend history, payout ratio, and financial health. If you can't understand what the company does or how it makes money, don't invest in it. Stick to diversified ETFs and funds until you develop more expertise. The psychological risk is often the biggest one. When your portfolio drops 20% during a market correction, your instinct will be to sell everything and hide the money under your mattress. This is exactly when you should be buying more, not selling. Market corrections are sales on future wealth. Create rules for yourself ahead of time. Decide how much you'll invest monthly regardless of market conditions. Commit to holding dividend investments for at least 5 years. Write these rules down and refer to them when emotions try to override logic. Remember, the goal isn't to avoid all risk. It's to take calculated risks that can actually improve your financial situation. Keeping money in savings accounts earning 0.5% is also risky because inflation is slowly making you poorer. Sometimes the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. Start small, stay consistent, and watch this next video.